So it's Foodie Hamsel again, and this week I'm going to be making scones. So the ingredients you're going to need today are 200 grams of self-raising flour, 25 grams of caster sugar, 50 grams of margarine and 140 mils of milk. You may also want to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder to ensure that rise. The extra ingredients you may want to add 50 grams of sultanas or 50 grams of cherries which are chopped. You could also add other alternatives such as dates. If you get rid of the sugar, the caster sugar, you could add 100 grams of a cheddar cheese instead, and maybe a pinch of mustard powder, which would make a savoury scone. Today I'm going to be making a vegan alternative to the scone, so therefore instead of dairy milk I'm going to be using soya milk, and instead of butter I'm going to be using a dairy-free vegan margarine. The first thing that you will need to do is you will need to preheat your oven to 220 degrees centigrade. It's really important that you wipe down your surfaces before you start, and also spray down with an antibacterial spray. The reason for this is not only to kill any bacteria, but also from the point of view that you will be kneading your dough maybe on this surface or one of your chopping boards. After you've preheated your oven to 220, you need to grease a baking tray for yourself. Only put on as much margarine as you need to, just from a point of view that if you were to hold it up to the light, you would see a shine on your tray and not big blobs of margarine. I can put that now to one side. Sieve your flour and your sugar into your mixing bowl. The gap between your sieve and your mixing bowl will incorporate air and relieve any lumps that are in there. Add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. This will ensure a good rise. Cut your vegan margarine up into small sections. This is better if it has been in the fridge, because it keeps your mixture nice and cold. Top tip when doing your rubbing in method, cover your margarine over with your flour. You are now ready to do the rubbing in method. You are only going to use your fingertips, not the palms of your hands, as they are the warmest part of your hands, and we are trying to keep your mixture as cool as possible. So you're picking up a little bit of margarine and a lot of flour, and you're basically going money, 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 money. Okay? So do your rubbing in method until you cannot see your margarine anymore, and it might resemble fine breadcrumbs. You'll also notice that the colour will start to change due to the fat in the mixture. At this stage, they are just sweet scone mixture. A good tip, if you've got a plastic bowl and it's not too noisy, you can tap your bowl and any larger lumps will come to the surface. I think that might be done now. It's very therapeutic. Okay, and that is now done. Some recipes might call for you to now add your fruit or your cheese. However, I want to do a mixture between half of sultanas and half of cherries. So therefore, I'm not going to be adding my fruit at this stage. Instead, I'm going to be adding my milk, my vegan milk. So start to pour a little of your vegan milk, and you can then give it a stir with either a spoon or a palette knife. The palette knife, the reason I'm using a palette knife is it will start to form a dough, and you can use it to push your mixture together. If you prefer your hands in at this stage, please feel free. You won't use all the milk, you're just going to pour until you get to where it comes to a dough. You're going to save the remainder of the milk for glazing your scones. I'm almost there, it's starting to come together as a dough. There's a few little bits that aren't sticking together, so I think I'm going to get my hands in and try and pull it together. Pull it together until that your bowl is relatively clean. Touch any dough from your fingers. Chop your cherries into small pieces using the bridge and claw method. I think I'm going to be chopping my cherries up into 8 pieces today. That way they will go further. Okay, so make sure your surfaces are dry, because what you're going to be doing now is you're going to be sprinkling some flour onto your surface. I'm using a little bit of plain flour. If you have a flour dredger, it's absolutely fine as well. Okay, so bring your dough out onto the surface like so. Flour at the top of your dough, you cut. Use a soft implement such as a spatula to cut through your dough. So therefore, if I was doing some plain, some fruit, some sultana, and some cherries, I would need to divide this dough up into thirds. So the easiest way to divide something into thirds is to get it into some kind of roll so that you can see it visually, so that it's got the same thickness throughout. So if I go mark my dough round about there to there, okay, I can say that this section here is going to be plain, this section here is going to be cherries, and this section here is going to be sultanas. Okay, so I'm going to be kneading my sultanas into my dough. You can see they're trying to escape. And you'll notice I'm kind of kneading it in so that the sultanas are evenly distributed throughout the dough. Got the one there, the escapee. Okay, so that's my sultana dough sorted out. I've floured my cherries to make it easier for handling because they're very, very sticky. Okay, and again, start kneading in the cherries. At the minute, they're all stuck together in one mass. If your dough starts sticking to the surface, don't be afraid to grab a little bit of your flour from other areas of your surface. Okay, so you can use a rolling pin if you want to, like so, and lightly flour your surface. You want your dough to be approximately about 2 centimetres, which is about, in fact, whatever the depth of this cutter. So decide which cutters you're going to use, stick with that size because otherwise you'll have some that are undercooked and some that are overcooked, and go with it. So press down and then re-roll. Then this can go onto your greased tray. Any dough that's left over and it's too small to make another scone, save it till the end because you might be able to add it to your plain dough or even your sultana one for a bit of a mixed variety. Okay, so you've got your 9 scones here. What you're going to do is you're going to brush your scones with some of the vegan milk. Obviously, if you were making non-vegan scones, somebody without any dietary requirements, then you would normally brush with egg or milk. So I'm just using the vegan milk. And this is going to go in the oven for approximately 12 to 15 minutes. And that is dependent upon size and whether you preheated your oven in time. Okay, so we're ready to place in the oven using oven gloves because obviously the shelves will be very hot, and I'm going to put them on the middle shelf of a fan oven so that I can see what they're doing, making sure that they're rising. Okay, so it's been about now 12 minutes. Okay, and what we're going to do is see if they're ready or not. So they should be well risen and they should be golden. Okay, so just looking at these, you can see that they are well risen and you can see that they are golden. Allow your scones to cool down before cutting open and filling with clotted cream and maybe some jam. Okay, so the next stage is I'm going to cut our scone into two, like so. Beautiful. And you're going to make a decision of whether you're from Devonshire when you put your clotted cream on first and then add your strawberry jam on top, or whether you're going to do the Cornish method where you're going to spread it with jam first and then clotted cream on top. So it's up to you which way you decide to do it. Okay, either way I find are both tasty. Put my cream there on my sultana, like so, depends how much you want. It doesn't have to be strawberry jam, it could be like I'm using raspberry jam. If after a day or so your scones become crumbly, there's nothing to stop you warming it up in the microwave for about 30 seconds before putting your fillings, and that will stop it from crumbling and also give a nice texture as well.